Meeting will come to order. Clerk Walter Persevich, would you please call the roll?
Dave Abdallah.
Here.
Thomas Berry.
Here.
Robert Constant.
Here.
Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Here.
Margaret Horvath is absent. Joseph Kosinski.
Here.
Ray Muscat.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Tonight will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Joseph Kosinski.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Kosinski. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda with some changes.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Clayton.
I move to approve the order of business May 9th, 2017, regular meeting of Dearborn Heights City Council with the removal of 7A and removal of 8A.
Support.
Support by Councilman Kosinski. Any discussion?
8A is coming out?
Yes.
Oh, that's what you said already.
They're going to finalize the contract and then give us the finalized version.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. I'll fill in Ms. Walker about the... The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the April 25th, 2017 meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Berry.
move to approve the minutes from the May 9th, 2017 meeting.
Second. Second by Councilman Kosinski. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 5A, public hearing and comment on agenda items
Mr. Chairman,
on the 2017-2018 corporate fund budget. Councilman
is this
Clayton.
a motion to move to go into an open public hearing,
Support.
correct?
It's been moved and supported to go into an open public hearing regarding the budget. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Any comments, anyone from regarding the 2017-2018 corporate fund budget, which we'll be voting on the 23rd?
Mr. Chair, I think you should clarify that that's for the residents.
For the residents.
Yeah.
Any comments from anyone, anyone attending on the 2017-2018 corporate fund budget? We've been reviewing the budget, going over it with our comptroller and with the mayor and with the different department heads. And we'll be voting to approve the budget with some changes on May 23rd.
Move the public hearing be closed, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
Support by Councilman Berry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? And any public hearing and comments on any agenda items? Any items on the agenda? All right, hearing none. The next item on the agenda is item 6, fund transfers and current claims.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Berry.
City Council approve the current claims 6-1 through 622.
Support.
Support by Councilwoman Lisa Hicks Clayton. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I have one, or a couple, excuse me. 612. That's our sewer cleaning. Again, when are we going to start with the sewer or the grease trap inspections? Does anyone know?
Jack's getting up.
Director McIntyre.
We've already started.
Have we looked into the ones that usually pop up quite heavily every week? And
We have. So what first happened is letters are going out to them, letting them know regarding the ordinance. They got copies of that. I met with a couple different companies that, because part of what we have to do is provide a list of licensed vacuum specialists or sewer interceptor cleaning companies. We have to have those available. So I went through the process. So we are physically not going to be doing those inspections ourselves. What we're requiring businesses with those interceptors to do is to provide a log to us that they've contracted a company to maintain them. So, and we've started that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
One more. I guess this is on 617. I want to know if I'm reading this right, is that it's a tree removal on a private property. The homeowner gonna pay that completely?
This was an ordinance issue. The homeowner refused to take the tree down. It was extremely hazardous. So by ordinance, I went in and demanded that they move the tree. He couldn't find a contractor himself. He couldn't afford to have the tree removed. So he did finally, pay for a portion of the tree removal. And then we picked up the tab for the rest of it, but it will be going on his taxes.
Okay, okay, thank you. That's all for me.
Any further discussion on fund transfers and current claims? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 7B, from Public Service Administrator Zimmer, Department of Public Works Fuel System.
Hold on, what number are you on?
7B, we pulled 7A.
And I must have pulled 7B along with it.
It's this.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman
Right
Kozinski.
ahead.
move to concur with
I didn't have it.
Director Zimmer, DPW Director Zimmer, and award the bid to the second lowest bidder for the fuel upgrade system in the DPW yard to Oscar W. Larson. Cost factor is $53,910.31, paid upon completion of the work, and to refund the bid deposits to the unsuccessful bidders. All according to a document dated May 4th under 7B.
Support.
Support by Councilman Berry. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Musket.
This came up a while back, and I had asked about why is it only water paying for this up front? And I was told that they were gonna look into this. I don't see why there is not a breakdown on this of who pays what. It always gets degraded out later from the water, back to the water. Everybody uses this, and it always comes out of water to pay for this stuff. And I'm totally against that, 100%. Water bills are high enough as it is, and we keep taking money out of water to do things. And then they say it goes back in. Fine, it may go back in. But I'd like to see the breakdown of who pays for what. And I never see that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mayor?
I've asked Plant Moran to come in and explain that to all of you as council members, but the whole DPW yard, the building, everything there is owned by the water department. If we start picking and choosing, buying this and that, it's going to become extremely confusing. And it's important that the allocations, I talked to Alicia from Plant Moran, and she's agreed that once the budgets are over, she'll come in and explain all that to all of you.
That'll be a good idea. So the information from Plant Moran's always a good, any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Abdallah.
I had a question for Bill Zimmer. So on this one here where MATSAC did not qualify because they did not provide the required information as specified in the advertisements for bid. The question I had for you is what was it specifically that was missing? And more importantly, where I had a concern is the company that we are going with is at $53,910.31, so almost $54,000. MATSAC, and I don't know anything about either company, was $39,850 for a difference of give or take 14,000 and some change. What was it that they were missing, and why is it that, just for clarification, that we can't call them and get that clarified, whatever it is that's missing, unless it was something substantial that couldn't be rectified.
It was something substantial. They didn't list, as required by the advertisement for bid, they didn't list any equipment that they were going to use. It was a simple 3-page joke, actually, I think. Maybe it wasn't, I don't even know if it was a legitimate bid. But none of the information that was required by the advertisement for bids was in their paperwork.
So are you familiar with them or no?
I've never heard of them, no. The other three, yeah, I am familiar with.
Reputable.
Right. And Oscar Larson has done quite a bit of work for us in the past as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
So that was 2 noes and 4 yeses.
Councilman Muscat, Councilwoman Hicks Clayton, thank you.
The next item on the agenda, report from the mayor. Item
8B.
8B for Mayor Pletko, appointments to the Watershed Stewards Commission.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Berry.
first of all, let me ask, is this a concurrence? I believe it's a concurrence. I know that the mayor's appointments, but.
Yeah,
So I move City Council concur with Mayor Dan Paletko and appoint Ms. Sarah Kumaya, Mr. Ali Eder, Mr. Mohammed Eder, Ms. Lena Alloway, and Mr. Baha Mohammed to the Watershed Stewards Commission as honorary student commissioners with terms to expire in 2019. Furthermore, I'd like to concur with the appointment of Yazid
Flahi.
Muflahi as an honorary student commissioner to the Watershed, term to expire 2020.
Support.
Thank you, Dave.
Support by Councilman Abdullah. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kozinski.
friendly suggestion, Councilman Berry. Lee Ann, since it's a lady, she might be sensitive about calling her.
Which one did I not?
Lena, you said Lena.
I didn't say miss. I apologize.
Lee Ann. I want to be on the right side of the fence with this one because sometimes.
No, I agree. And congratulations to you all. I hope you really get something out of this. This is an important commission. As you can see, the other Watershed Stewards Commissions contributed quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I think their presentation at one time went to Washington, I think, and it was awarded one of the second highest presentations that we had. So I look forward to seeing good things from you as well. Thank you very much.
That's right, the 2 students from Crestwood, and these are all students that are part of the Honor Society at Crestwood. They're a great help to us. They come out with their teacher and help on all our projects. But the 2 students a couple of years ago did a study that won awards not only here in Michigan, but nationally.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
Councilman Abdullah?
I just want to add that earlier today, I was on one of the boards, and then we were making decisions as far as different scholarships that are given. And I just want to say to students that are listening to this that for those students that had something like this on their resume, this was taken into account and increased the odds of them getting scholarships to the different colleges that they are going for. In addition to that, when they apply for college, of course, when the different universities take a look at different things that they volunteered for in the community, that makes their resume look even better. And then later on in their jobs, it looks even better. So kudos to them for doing this, but it's also, they also get a lot back, after they sign up for something like this.
That's
So that's great.
interesting.
Thank you, Councilman Abdullah. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, reports from city officials. Item 9A from Administrative Assistant Laszlo, revise web service sales agreement.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Clayton.
I move the City Council approve the attached contract for Revise LLC, and upon successful review and recommended changes made by Corporation Counsel Gary Miyake as submitted in 9A.
Support.
Support by Councilman Musket. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Councilwoman Clayton.
I wanted to say thank you because I know this is something that our community has long been waiting for, is a, update to the city website. So many people go to that for information. We want it to be easy to navigate and find what you're looking for, but also to promote our community. And I did just want to add a comment through the study session we had, which I thought was a very good presentation. I would encourage through the administration and this council body to consider exploration and implementation of the reporting app that is available. There is an additional expense of, I think he said around $3,000, but it would provide our residents with the ability to report any type of blight violations. It's a great communication piece where you have the app on your phone and provide that opportunity to our residents. I would encourage that. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item 9A? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 9B, from Public Service Administrator Zimmer, 2017 water main improvements, Beach Daily Road in Ann Arbor, Trail recommendation of award.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Berry.
move City Council concur to amend the 2014 water main improvement contract with D&D Water and Sewer for Ann Arbor Trail and Beach Daily Water Main Replacement Program in the amount of $1,013,420, and further request construction engineer budget be established for Wade Trim in the amount of $100,000. This project is part of the approved 2016-2017 Water and Sewer Fund budget as outlined in 9B.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kozinski. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Musket.
this says amend. Now, is this going to be an increase of $1 million and the $100,000, or this is what it's going to totally cost?
No, that's a total for the cost, and
I didn't see the total cost, but it just says amend, and I was just wondering if it was going to increase by $1 million.
no, that's a total cost that was approved in the budget.
Thank you.
And I think, Director, when I spoke with you, you mentioned that this was lower than anticipated.
Actually, there was a couple of glitches. One of them was we were going to have partial funding from CDBG for low mod area, but there's been some discussion that since the area we were going to do bordered on a non-low mod area, they were going to give us a bunch of flack, so we had to switch projects. So we did go with another project, and we are under budget, actually.
Yep, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 9C, also from Public Service Administrator Bill Zimmer, purchase of HP Design Jet large format printer.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Clayton.
I move to concur and approve William Zimmer's request for the HP Design Jet T730 large format printer from CDW-Z, and the amount is $2,867.71. Payment upon receipt as submitted in 9C.
Support.
Support by Councilman Musket. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 9E, from Police Chief Lee Gavin, purchase of Alpha Card, Magic Card, Rio Pro Dual ID card system.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Musket.
I move council approve for the purchase and payment of one Alpha Card, Magic Card, Rio Pro Duo ID card system. The equipment is to replace the current Zebra ID printer, and as outlined in 9E.
Support.
Support by Councilman Berry. Any discussion?
Also request approval for purchase and payment when the invoice is received.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
So I had a question for the chief. Is this particular machine also used by the courts by any chance?
That's word.
We take the ID for the court personnel. We used to take them for all the city until Elizabeth got one. But we use ours for the court and the police department.
So this will be used for both departments then? Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 9F, from Fire Chief Dave Brogan, purchase of circular air dual-purpose hose dryer.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Clayton.
I move to approve Fire Chief Brogan's request to purchase the circular dual-purpose dryer at a cost of $7,541.23. This includes freight and handling fees paid from capital outlay upon receipt as outlined in 9F.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kozinski. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, from Corporation Counsel Gary Miyake, transfer of 4 properties to the Wayne County Treasurer.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Barry.
I move City Council concur with Agenda Item 9G in conveying the properties back to the Wayne County Treasurer. It is our understanding that these properties were deeded to the city in error.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kozinski. Any discussion?
Mr.
Chair.
Chair.
Councilman Barry.
No, Mr.
Councilman
Abdullah first.
So for corporate counsel Gary, I looked at this, confused the heck out of me. How do they transfer 4 houses by accident?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think Chancellor Riley.
Or
could
lots,
probably,
either way.
Explain this a bit better.
Properties that don't sell at the auction
Right.
are offered to the city, but it's kind of in the way that basically they're going to give them all to the city unless we refuse them. These particular 4 properties, we sent, the mayor's secretary sent a communication to the county that we were not interested in receiving them, and yet we received the deeds anyways. So when the deeds arrived, we said, well, you know, we weren't supposed to get them. The county agrees. They drafted these deeds back to them from us. We gave them to Gary to review, and we needed council's approval for the mayor to sign them so we could give the
So
property back.
why didn't we want them?
Well, they're small lots, unbuildable lots, and then there's items that we have to prepare, you know, we have to take care of when really they could be, we normally, I think our position is to buy properties that need demoing, you know, where we need to clean it up, or along the Ecorse Creek where, you know, there's a situation like that, but we just don't take every, you know, lot within the city that's available.
Okay, so these are not buildable then?
Well, I do
That's why
not
we
know
don't want
that,
'em.
but they would go into the county's land bank, and then people could purchase them from Wayne County. Nobody chose to purchase them through the auction process, and so now they would go into the county's land bank, and then they would still be available to sale to the public. It's just that, you know, the city would not own them.
So the reason I'm asking for clarification, so why would we not, as a city, take these anyways, and then we sell them, and we have an additional revenue if we're getting these for free?
If we get them for free and we get a revenue for them.
Or give them
if
to the next door neighbors if they're not buildable.
Right. If we get them for free and we make revenue for them, we have to give that money back to Wayne County. Okay, we're not allowed to turn these over for profit.
Okay.
And so I guess, the discussion amongst those would be the assessors, the ordinance office, the mayor's office, and all of that was, these are the position of, the properties that we do take. And these did not meet those qualifications. So, I mean, I guess if, you guys want to look into us taking every property that's available to us, that's something that, might want to look at the policies,
I mean, so these all had houses on them?
No, they're vacant lots.
I don't know, maybe it's just think out loud, why wouldn't we just take them and give them to the next door neighbor if they want them?
The
county-
neighbor
the
may
county-
not, a lot of times doesn't want it because they don't want to pay more property taxes.
So,
The county has the land bank conveys them. Councilman Barry?
are you done, Mr. Abdullah?
Yes, I'm all set, thank you.
So, John, to piggyback on that, I have 2 questions for you. So what we're saying is nobody went out, unless the dimensions are listed on a deed, nobody went out to physically look at the properties?
No. I did not.
Okay, and I'm not saying that you should have. I'm just making a point, because I agree with Mr. Abdullah that we should have probably looked at those properties prior to making a decision. So it wasn't an error on the county's part in that they were sold, in, like we had a situation where they had sold the property and sent us the deed. So unless I want you to share that with me, but I'm going to finish this by saying that moving forward, I'd like the council to concur with me that all properties that we buy and we earmark for demo, go out for an RFP for demo. I don't want to just blanketly award the demo anymore. So I hope I make myself, and maybe the council agree with me, that we need to go out for RFPs on demos. But as far as these lots are concerned, Jack, did we have an opportunity to go out and look at these?
Yeah, we look at them, Tifa looks at them, we get a list of the properties that are going to be available, either ones that we can purchase or ones that are going to be made available to us. And, you know, we check with neighboring people. If they're not interested, then it's just going to become something that we have to cut the grass on and maintain and.
That's fine, that's a good answer, I just,
So we do check with the neighbors then?
Correct.
Okay.
There's a couple of the, in fact, of the 5 homes that you recently approved for demolition in this budget year, I believe 3 of the neighbors are interested in purchasing the additional property and expanding their property, so.
good. Thank you,
Mr.
John.
Chairman.
Yeah. Councilman Kozinski.
Councilor Mackey, there might be some additional work in trying to retain these properties in the sense of an unclean title and legal work that would.
Well,
go-
that is correct. So basically, title insurance companies are not looking at things the way they used to in terms of receiving title from tax foreclosures, sales. Sometimes you have to end up actually bringing an action to quiet the title because of the decision from the Michigan Supreme Court several years ago with respect to property owners or people who have interest not receiving notice and having to receive notice, otherwise it's a due process violation. So just receiving properties that we don't necessarily want or have some purpose for just potentially creates a liability or an exposure for us, and then we're taking care of something, then someone turns around and says, oh, I still have an interest in the property because I never received notice from the county. In essence, you're almost, vouching for the county having done everything correctly with respect to the process. And
Well, these are being transferred via quitclaim deed versus a warranty deed, which would have clear title. But with that being the case, obviously, we could always put it, I looked at these as all quitclaim
the
deeds.
treasurer always ends up providing them by a quitclaim deed.
Right, that's what I'm
Tax
saying.
sales, otherwise, they always do so, and they did so after the professional.
And that's what I'm saying, it's quitclaim deed, so there could be potential for title issues, obviously, or we'd have to check title to be able to get
We'd
some
have
sort
to
of.
pay
another
for
deed.
that,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 12 years ago or so when then Commissioner Phil Kavanaugh intentionally didn't pay his taxes on part of his property to see if he actually got notice, and he didn't. And Mary Beth Kelly was always throwing out every tax foreclosure, not every, but many of the tax foreclosures that were challenged.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court basically made it very clear, even though the statute did not say that if you did not receive notice, as a matter of fact, we've had that recently happen with respect to some litigation, although we have a resolution with respect to that, where we ended up receiving a couple of properties, and the bank that was involved should have received notice and did not receive notice.
But these were conveyed to us, and the deeds recorded in error, so they're being conveyed back,
Exactly.
correct?
Exactly.
Any further discussion on item 9G? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 9H, from Community and Economic Development Director Joe Hashem.
Mr. Chair.
Program year 2017-2018 CDBG Action Plan. Councilman Berry.
I move City Council concur with Director Hashem and approve the 2017-2018 CDBG Action Plan as outlined in 9H.
Support.
Support by Councilman Musket. Any
And authorize,
discussion?
I apologize, authorize the mayor to sign the certifications and the SF 424 application.
Support.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
I just want to clarify that there was 2 public hearings on this that were held here at the council chambers, and there was also a 30-day public comment period, so this is not the first time this is coming in front of us. No, it was just a statement, not a question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Abdullah. Any further discussion?
Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 11A from Corporation Counsel Gary Miyake, first reading of proposed ordinance H-17-02 retirement plan appeals.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Berry.
Move City Council concur, read for the first time, ordinance H-17-135. This is a proposed ordinance to allow potential retirees the ability to appeal a retirement process that they're going through.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kozinski. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Chairman.
Councilman Berry.
I don't know if I've explained it well enough, John. I don't know if it's something that you can share with us. It's an appeal process that we've allowed our employees to have should they get denied retirement. Am I correct? Yeah, thank you.
Well, yes, and basically it's incorporates the features that were provided on what Treasurer Riley provided and goes beyond that. And that's why, as the councilwoman was asking me, it should be referred back to the General Government Pension Committee so they can see how I made certain additions. I think I improved what they suggested, but their council may have some feelings before it gets read for a second time.
And I did say, as outlined in 11A, it states it in there, but thank you.
Any further discussion? I thank Treasurer Riley and the Pension Board for, and I apologize for not getting it on sooner. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda, item 13A, under new business, business license renewals for Carreras Cucina Italiana, Irwin's Auto Sales, and wholesale retailers, and A Motors.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second by Councilman Berry. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Musket.
on wholesale retailers, are they up to date on everything? Because there's no boxes checked here on the last page. Everything's kosher with them? Okay, thank you.
Mayor and Director McIntyre, how is Irwin Auto, have they been, that used car place on Van Born, have they been any improvement in the number of cars or?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman, or I'm sorry, Clerk Walter Pershevitz.
if I could just expound for Councilman Muscat, they didn't bring in their renewal form, so we just printed a blank one up to have it for you. That's why there's no boxes checked.
Okay.
Thank you, Clerk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. That ends the regular business portion of our meeting. Are there any announcements? Any announcements?
Mr. Chairman, mention a couple things, and I'll ask if you want further deliberation. I might just refer it to Gary. We had a meeting last Tuesday. We talked about the subleasee at the Canfield Center. They have received an eviction notice. They are out. They still have some property there.
Well, they're not out. And basically, they've been given a 30-day notice to quit. They're actually a lessee, not a sublessee. And they've been given a 30-day notice to quit, but because of the condition of the property, they can't have access to the property except to remove property, and they should be out by June the 5th.
Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks for the update.
Will anybody be supervising that departure?
Yes.
I just think it's important that we have somebody there just so that we have some assurances that.
We've talked about, we have a specific individual that will be there anytime they're attempting to.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman
I
Abdullah?
got a question for corporate counsel. What about the monies that had been previously owed? Because as we understood at the last meeting, they had not paid since August. and there's monies that would have been personally owed, and in addition to that, what probably would have been a good idea, but I wasn't around personally, but I don't know if a personal guarantee was, a part of a contract, which would mean obviously you could go after them individually versus them just shutting down whatever LLC that they own, and then, you can't go after nobody. So what's the status as far as what money that's back owed?
As I understand it, it has not been paid.
Right, but what's the plan for, is there a plan for getting that by any chance?
Wouldn't
Is it even
discuss-
collectible?
I would not discuss a plan for any possible litigation in a public forum.
So, but the action for possession has been initiated in the 10
Well, the action
days.
for possession will, the notice has been given, but an action has not been given or started. It wouldn't need to be commenced as long as they're out of the premises.
Yeah, in other words, the mechanism or the steps to.
Sure.
Can I at least know, is there a personal guarantee on this one, on this
No,
contract
there
with
was
them?
not. We've never had a personal guarantee on any of the contracts for the
Mr. Chair.
arena.
I would, for next time, I would suggest it,
Sure.
definitely.
I mean,
Well,
Because then you could go after the individual.
Mr. Chair,
Were you done?
I'm all set, thank you.
Councilman Berry.
I understand perfectly well that that's not a discussion to be had in public, but if that discussion can take place privately, I'd like to explore that possibility.
I would be happy to give you an opinion and lay out what's going on with regard to the arena, and we could end up having a closed session regarding that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilwoman Clayton.
Thank you. I just had two questions. When I researched my records on this, June 6, 2016, the council body approved a 90-day extension on the lease. And with that, that would have taken you into the end of August, I believe. And so they hadn't paid since August 2016. We waited a while to pursue that, with them not paying. So is that standard procedure? And the second question I have is, there's this discussion with the circus, which we were talking about Tuesday at study session. And I know that's through the leasee, but I guess the tickets, from what I understand, because I've been in the schools, D7 schools and whatnot, working with students, those tickets have already been distributed, and they're not made aware that this is now happening.
Then they should be made aware by
the
someone,
Right.
and/or anyone else who would be able to give that information if they have a contact. If you have some notion, perhaps send that information on to Mr. Greibel or someone else, but that is something that should be done. I mean, we had to do a bunch of stuff in a really short time frame, given what we learned, so.
Okay. And Mr. Greibel, if I could speak with you after then, because I did confirm those tickets were sent out to all the students home. So it'd be good, better than having people show up that night. All right, thank you.
Councilman Abdullah.
Well, I just had a comment, and I kind of discussed it a little bit last week during the study sessions, why this went on. If it was last August that they had not paid, why this went on. And I'm going to tell you, personally, I was startled when I heard that last week, that they had not paid since August. And I don't know what was done, but from what we heard, really not much was done. We kept giving them a break. On a rental property, you give somebody maybe a month break, you give them a month to get their act together, but since August to have not paid.
Listen, but
I had a
we're
serious
going
problem with
we're
that.
going to have a
I
memo
would
from the
suggest that
city
those
attorney and
issues at least be addressed initially.
be the
in
background of
closed
the legal
session.
issues. So we'll discuss that, but we won't be able to discuss it right now.
And I understand we don't want to
And basically, we potentially.
openly discuss things, but I
Still wanna
think
make a comment
Councilman
on that
Abdullah's
horse
point
in the brown
needs
field.
to be, it needs to be heard in that nothing came before council so that council could force action. We somewhat sit here and honestly look stupid that this went on, because this is partially our responsibility. And this went under the radar. And now, 15 months later, is it? We're sitting here giving that, I don't know, salute. That it's just so
happened
wrong.
is this, as we all know, so.
No, we know what happened. Hell, we didn't get told.
Right, but the entity that was there, the hope was that they would be there, they would make a go of it. And so then it's up to the executive branch of government to say, no, this isn't working, and.
Well, I'm not going to drop the responsibility on the administration either. I'm not here to protect anybody, but I can't speak, and I don't want to assume that the administration knew about it. But what's frustrating is that it did come before us at one point, and we did complain about it because they attempted to sublease it.
Right.
They weren't allowed to sublease it. They should have never been. In the contract, there was no place said that they could sublease it. It was leased to them, but yet we allowed them to do it or attempt to do it, and then they went on without paying. Hell, at the third month, they should have been out of there. We should have threw a lock on it and been done with it.
Mr. Chair? If I may, just to clarify a couple of things here. But I don't want to go into too much detail because we may come into litigation with the people that are currently in there. If you recall, there was Family Entertainment Properties, and then there was the Motor City Chiefs. And the Motor City Chiefs ended up going around to, basically they became a assignee of Family Entertainment Properties with regard to the lease, and then they ended up bringing in another company, unbeknownst to the city, and that company is the current lessee, which is a tenant at sufferance at this point, which basically did a lot of work to try to improve the property. As a matter of fact, if you may recall, this body was wanting to end up giving a complete rent abatement based on all of the things that were being done. This was some time ago.
I recall that.
Right, because they ended up doing a bunch of improvements and other things.
Well, they were
that,
proposed, though. I apologize.
They actually did. But then it was proposed, and then my recommendation to this body was, don't do that, because Motor City Chiefs is potentially going to get the abatement, but the actual entity that's actually doing all of the improvements is not necessarily going to get an abatement. And then the relationship between the Motor City Chiefs and that entity ended up going south, and now there's still problems with the property, and that's part of the reason why we have to have them move out. And that's something, and I think that's about as much as I'm comfortable saying in a public setting.
And I respect that, and I understand, and it pains me to say this, honestly, because I like to think I have a good relationship in the city, but somebody needs to be held accountable for it.
We'll get the city attorney's opinion and get a meeting set up regarding this right away.
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Musket.
I know I was looking back through the packet, and I was going through Mr. Miyatki's summary, and it looked like he was doing some work on this back in April. So this was already known to the administration, and they had already started doing something on it. Unfortunately, we didn't know as a council, but I was, going through the packet, and I did see that he was already working on it. So that's just a comment.
Was this past April?
Yes, this past April, so. But we didn't know. I mean, it wasn't conveyed to us.
What about, council, the padlocking? I mean, I understood from one of the residents that it's been padlocked or something like that recently
Yes,
by the fire
It's
department?
been padlocked because the condition of the property has required it to be padlocked. Normally, when we end up having property placarded for being in an unsafe condition, the property then ends up being padlocked as well, and access is limited to the property. And that's why nothing can end up going on at this time in those premises because of the condition of the property.
But we're getting possession of the property now. The tenant is voluntarily moving out.
Well, the tenant is going to be moving out. The tenant has ended up with his attorney communicating with me and communicating with Mr. Greibel, and would like to have more time and more access, and we're trying to be reasonable with regard to the time, but on the other hand, we have to be mindful of the condition of the property.
I say we go unreasonable now. I say we give them 7 days, get out, done. I mean, we've been
I don't
9 months.
I don't know if you can give them a 7-day notice to quit.
Whatever.
It's a
Whatever
30-month, it's a
whatever the
month-by-month
minimum amount
lease.
is, you give it to them, you say, get out, done.
Yeah, but it's a
Well, that's what's
month-by-month
done.
lease.
They're
It's gotta be,
moving out.
it can't just be a 7-day notice to quit, 10-day with 30-day notice.
We give them a 7-day, but
Director Cafferty?
You can't?
we could.
Really?
I wanted to bring up one other item. Briefly, on the golf course acquisition, I said that, we'll be transparent and inform the council. The environmental study will be done and paid for by our city brownfield. So they have, that's great news, and they've got already a procedure in place to handle it. And the attorney and I have been in contact with about survey. Wade and Trim would like to do that, but we'll bring it back to all of you. And I've been in discussions with Plant Moran on the financials, and we'll bring that back to you too.
Great, Mr. Chair.
Great. Councilman Musket.
I was going to, comment on that. There was an email that was sent out by our county commissioner, and I don't know if you saw the original email or a second email about, and I've received so many phone calls, and I really don't know what to say or how much I can say about, $5 million fund balance or $5 million rainy day fund, and money coming from ADA or DDA, excuse me, and Brownsfield. I responded to her that, she said there was no tax dollars going to be spent on the golf course. So I spoke to her, and she called me back. I sent her an email. She called back, and she sent out a second email kind of explaining what she meant. And I don't know if you received the email, Mr. Mayor, if you wanted to comment on it. But as far as the Brownsfield go, now that's just for phase 1, correct? And it's not going to pay for the whole thing. It's just for phase 1, correct?
It's for phase 1. They could pay for more. It was the feeling of Carmen and the people that do that for the Brownfield that there probably is not a need to go beyond the phase 1.
Okay.
But we do the phase 1, then we see.
I just wanted to give you the chance to comment on that email. I don't know what to tell people.
I don't know. I was informed of it by our city treasurer. I was not on the distribution list. I did not see a second one, and it was rather lengthy. And I think it was an effort by the commissioner to try to keep everybody informed. To her credit, she always tries to do that. So, but specifically, unless there would be a specific point, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted you to have a chance to comment on it.
Yeah, John Riley gave me an
All right,
opportunity
thank
to
you.
read it.
I also spoke with Mr. Riley also on that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just curious, because you had mentioned, I think somebody had mentioned there had been a dump at one point for garbage for the city of Detroit. And I'm just curious, wouldn't it possibly more than likely need a phase 2 environmental study?
Well, the Brownsfield told me that first would be the phase 1, and then they would go from there. So rather than jump to any conclusions, yeah, my understanding is that the city of Detroit, I do not know if at the golf course that was in fact the case. I just knew in general that the city of Detroit used to dump trash along Ann Arbor Trail in the 20s or 30s.
Okay. Also, another item on that is I through an email with the clerk, I guess, at one point we were going to take it to a study session in regards to different businesses that owe different money based on their licenses, and most specifically their liquor licenses. And the golf course owes right now, they were at 1.16,000 behind on the water. Now they're down to 14,000. Something like that, back to the similar situation with the Canfield Center, I think has got to be addressed. We can't have people owing us that kind of money, and then they just
And that's not knowing
continue to
about it.
operate. Yeah, I mean, I just found this out a couple days ago.
I didn't know that.
That gets addressed. All people that are late in water, they had informed me of the fact that there was the bill owed, and there is a procedure in place to pursue that.
There's a lien filed and different things.
Well,
But don't you think it's important that we know
Because,
that
I mean,
that process is
14,000,
taking place?
John, or Treasurer Riley, can you explain a little what the process is when they are behind on either water or personal property taxes?
Well, I mean, if we're talking. We've been, for personal property taxes, we've been very successful in working with the clerk's office on denying people's business licenses, and there's been a lot of collection. Now, we do have some liquor licensed businesses that have been, a couple of bad people, like businesses out there that are delinquent, and we have sent that list to you, and now it's kind of in your court to help us do the collection help us collect the delinquent personal property and some of the delinquent water on those businesses. What Councilman Abdullah was speaking of.
And what I'm speaking of is the clerk had given us a list of different businesses that had been behind. And we had said at one point, my concern is this seems to be a reoccurring situation. We got probably about 3, 4, 5, 6 months back, I'm not sure the exact date, we got a list of different study sessions, different things that were supposed to go to a study session, and then there was items on there from like 2014, 2015. That's crazy. And then now we have this that was supposed to go to a study session, and I spoke with the clerk earlier, and this had not gone to, we last discussed that, I think about, was it 3, 4 months back or whatever. Now it's not going to a study session. You got this particular entity owing they owed $16,000, and according to the clerk, it's down to about $14,000 now. We don't vote on their liquor license, but we can make a recommendation.
That's right.
And with that, we could use that to our leverage to be able to get our money.
That's exactly
and I'm not trying to point them out, them or anybody else for that matter.
Right.
If somebody owes $100, $200, $300 in water, it's half bad. When it's in the thousands like this, that's where I've got a little bit more of a problem with it. And I think it should come. I don't know, which department, who, and where, and why, but somebody should be telling us, or at the minimum themselves going after these people to make sure something like that does not drag out like this.
Treasurer Riley, but the entity that owes the money, is it Wayne County or is it?
That I don't know. I'm not the dealing with the.
No, it's Wayne County.
The way we have resolved that is we make the call down to the county and we'll get the payment. So last year was $16,000 and we received the payment. And we just work our way up the food chain to get the money, and we get the money.
And speaking, Mr. Chairman, in terms of liquor licenses, the process by ordinance is that it's to come to this body after the city clerk prepares the list to you, and then you are to give direction on what you want done with respect to the individual businesses. You can recommend to the Liquor Control Commission that the licenses be revoked, and they'll be revoked. I mean, the Liquor Control Commission takes a very hard line with respect to that. But the idea is that it should come here first. You should say, we want to end up revoking. If you do, you have to give them a hearing. If you want to end up having us say, look, send a communication to them indicating that they have to do something or we'll have a hearing, then we can end up doing that, which for a lot of places would be enough right there to end up causing them to come into compliance and no further action would be necessary. So it's really, it is incumbent on the council at this time to actually have a study session or to have a session where direction is given to the administration with respect to that.
Yeah, that was one of the items on the items pending list. We were going to review those, so as soon as we get done with the budget.
But that's what I'm saying, it shouldn't drag, we gotta.
It's supposed to be an annual process.
Right. We'll get it done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Treasurer.
Any other announcements? Our clerk, Walter Pershevitz.
Good evening, everybody. Just to update you on a few things from the clerk's office. We have finalized all our legal obligations with the state of Michigan regarding the change of the polling location from St. Mel's to Riverside. I've been dealing with the printer for about 3 or 4 days now. Very soon you will be receiving a letter in the mail. It will look like this. Anybody who lives in Precinct 8 will get this letter. It has pictures as to where the new precinct is, explanations on where to go in and where to vote. Also included in your letter will be a new voter ID card. Please open up this envelope when you see it says City Clerk on it. Please share it with anybody that you may think is not opening up, or just across the fence say, hey, did you get that letter? Do you know where to vote? We would really, really appreciate that. So this is ready to go as soon as the printer can get it stuffed and get it out in the mail. On that note, the state website, I have updated that. So if you go to the website where you can put in your name and your birth date and it tells you where to vote, it will now say Riverside instead of St. Mel's. If anybody, I noticed we got a little bit of a mention in the Gulfview Manor paper. If you have a meeting and you'd like me to come and talk about it, I would be more than happy to talk about it at your upcoming meetings. If you would like to put a copy of the letter in your newsletter, I would greatly appreciate it. Speaking about elections, it's about 3 months away, and it seems a long way away, but it really isn't. We have already approved the absentee ballot applications. Once again, I'm waiting for the printer to get them out in the mail. We have supplied them with everything. I have the postage checks, so you should be seeing those applications. They will be a dual application for both August and November, as we usually do to save money. Finally, we will be getting new equipment in August. We have been working on this process, the state of Michigan with the county and with the local clerks. I've been to several meetings and different equipment shows over the past several months. In fact, we are going to a show tomorrow. The equipment has been decided upon. It'll be countywide equipment. So we're going to get a better look at what we will be utilizing in August. It should be, I don't think the voters will see much of a change. The equipment is going to be basically the same. The voter assist terminal, the handicap terminal, of course, will be much improved. We will, hopefully the workers will see a much better process for them, much easier process. Our old equipment is 12 years old. So we're awaiting the delivery of that equipment and starting to get trained on it. Most of the equipment has been paid for through the Help America Vote grant and through budgetary allotments from our state of Michigan. The city will have to share in some costs. They're not as much costs as we anticipated from the beginning, but once again, we're still in the process of determining exactly what parts of it we need to buy and what the cost will be. So I'll keep everybody updated as things go on, and watch our website, please. Right now, we're going to keep you updated as things go on. There's a list of candidates on the election website right now, and any pertinent information that we can pass along to you will be on the website. So once again, if you have any questions whatsoever, the clerk's office number is 313-791-3432. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Any other announcements?
Hello, Council Chair and Mayor. Just want to talk about a couple of upcoming events at the library. First off, Thursday, May 18th at Carolyn Kennedy Library at 7 p.m. Join us for Michigan Rediscovered. Radmacher, traveler extraordinaire, will take us on travel destinations that you may have missed. You will go on a rollicking trip to more than a dozen destinations that are relatively unknown in the state of Michigan. So come on out and add to your local travel bucket list. Next Wednesday, May 31st at 7 p.m. at Carolyn Kennedy Library, we will be having a program on the history of Dearborn Township. Andrew Kircher of the Dearborn Historical Museum will be giving a presentation of the township from early settlement to the incorporation of Dearborn Heights. So that should be fun and informative as well. That's all for now. Actually, wait a second, let me take that back. Oh yeah, that's right. That's all for now. Thanks for your time and see you at the library. Also, one more thing. Let's see, next Wednesday, May 17th, 2017, the community is invited to the Michigan Week Service Club Luncheon. This is sponsored by our local community clubs, Goodfellows, the Kiwanis, Rotary, and the Lions. The program is at noon. It's at the Stitt Post at 23850 Military Road. The program is going to include a State of the City address, a brief update on Nolan, and our announcement of our Service Club honorees. It's $30 at the door. I believe it's $25 if you contact the mayor's office by tomorrow at 791-3490. Checks made payable to the city of Dearborn Heights. Majority of the proceeds will be going to the cemetery. So,
Date of that again, Director Cafferty, is?
On Wednesday, May 17th, next Wednesday. at 12.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry,
Councilwoman
I did
Clayton.
have an announcement. Oh, go ahead, Mike, thank you. Just want to let our residents know that this Saturday coming up, May 13th, is the Stamp Out Hunger, the food drive. We work through the Salvation Army. It goes to the Salvation Army Food Pantry, and the postal workers will pick up non-perishable food items that you leave out under your mailbox. So we want to encourage people to do that because it does directly support our community and a community food pantry. So that is on May 13th. And we'll be supporting that by sorting the food items. If anybody's interested and would like to help us, we'll be at Salvation Army at 27600 West Warren from 12 to 3.
Thank you, thank you. Director Jack McIntyre.
At the last council meeting, you approved Aland Cement Company to perform the cement replacement for our voluntary program. So I wanted to just update folks. We have about 70 to 80 homeowners that have expressed an interest. We're getting calls about 7. We probably got maybe as many as 10 today. But I want to encourage people, two things. One, if you can email us, if you have access to email, the email address is the word sidewalk at ci.dearborn-heights.mi.us. So it's sidewalk at ci.dearborn-heights.mi.us. Let us know that you're interested. You're going to get an email back with some instructions. But really, if you're interested as of today, and for those folks that have already expressed an interest, we have someone in the ordinance department that's been calling the folks and instructing them to come in and register. There's a form that we're having them fill out in the ordinance department to register for that. So we're encouraging people to do that. And I'm going to try at each council meeting to kind of give you an update of how many numbers we're at in terms of people that are interested in participating. It's a voluntary program. The second thing I wanted to just say real quick as it pertains to animal control. One, we do have an ordinance that requires that when a dog uses the facilities outside that you pick it up immediately, that it's not supposed to be left. I know a lot of people are in the habit of, I do it the day before trash day or at least every other day. I can't stress enough how important, especially with spring coming, or spring that's here now, it has to be picked up immediately. It's a food source for rodents. We really did a really good job about a year and a half ago getting that message out, and it really clearly made a difference in the community in terms of rodent activity. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is if you're having difficulty with your animal in your home, and what I mean by that is if it requires medical care or even food, please contact us. The number you want to call is 313-791-3497. We have a ton of resources available. People there, we can connect you with food banks for your animals. What we're seeing, and I mentioned this several months back, we're seeing a lot of animals that are being abandoned again. And so it's critical that you reach out to us. The other option is if you find that you just cannot keep your animal in your home anymore, there's no charge. There's no offense. We try to do it with as much dignity as possible. We will come there. You sign the animal over to the shelter. No questions asked. We just maybe ask for a history of the animal, especially as it pertains to its behavior and any health concerns. There's no charge to you. It's an extension of the contract that we have with Michigan Humane Society there's no charge to the city as well. So please call us before you make a decision. We can definitely help you on that. So that's all I have.
Mr. Chair?
Director McIntyre, thank you.
Director McIntyre,
Go ahead.
would you take food donations, like unopened bags of dog food to donate?
We wouldn't, but I can tell you of an organization that has a better facility to store that in, and that's you can contact Joanne Dixon at Providing for Paws.
Okay, I know her. Okay.
And Joanne has been a huge resource for us from day one, and I call her on a weekly basis. She has tons of outreach people that will go out. She's helped got animals, dogs especially, spayed and neutered for us, no cost. They have lots. She's connected to a lot of veterinarians that will do it for no charge. So
I just bought a big bag of dog food for my dog. Needs adult dog food, he doesn't like it, so what am I gonna do with this dog food, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it. Well, you know, especially I know a lot of times our HR director has provided food for us, dog food specifically. She has a real finicky dog that changes his diet. Just today, we used some food that we have available. We have a dog that was left in a home. We can't just go in and take the animal, but we had access to provide food and water for the animal. In the meantime, we made contact with the owner, and they're going to sign the animal over tomorrow. So, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Steve Roberts, our co-director of our Watershed Stewards Commission, is here. Good to see you back, Steve.
Just an update on the Ecorse Creek cleanup. We had approximately 100 people that showed up, and I want to show off the sponsors we had for, I don't know if you can see it. Okay. And also what the shirt looked like. And what debris came out, Bob would know better than what I do.
Yeah, we pulled out several of the metal trash barrels. Someone had thrown an Everlast punching bag in the creek, and we, with the help of the Honor Society students, dragged it out. It was very heavy. Of course, shopping carts and some car seats and car parts and different things, cans of paint. So
I seen some tires too.
Tires.
And thank you for everybody that showed up. We had over 100 people.
We had the Honor Society students come again and volunteer and helped us. And we had the, Bill Decker brought the work program individuals from the court, and they helped.
Well, thank
we
you,
had some
everybody.
elected officials there also. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other announcements? All right, hearing none. If any residents want to come up, state their name and their street they live on, and please, we've had some meetings where residents go on, and department heads are here late. They're here all day, and they've got to come in the evening, so try to keep their comments to a minimum.
My name is Ed Frolick. I live on Robindale. I'm a resident of Dearborn Heights. And my concern is about Warren Avenue. You have these street lights, the black ones that you should have never changed it. You should have stayed the way you had the old, after Beach Daily, the older type, because these lights are not being taken care of properly, okay? They need painting. They're only, you could see just the bolts and nuts on them, okay? And what do you call it, the banners that you had on there, the flags, things and that was on nothing but a piece of cloth. And it's, right. Wait a minute, and that just, was nothing but junk. You go to Garden City, they had vinyl, okay? They didn't tear. That was nothing but a waste of money, okay? And that's number one issue. Number two issue, the business residents do not take care of their property. You got nothing but dandelions growing out there. Nothing's being said to them or in that. You got a Nightingale. You got curbs. You got also on Warren Avenue curbs that are busted. There's a curb busted on Nightingale. They've been there for 6 months. I was just waiting to see what's going to happen when that big snowfall fell. And say somebody had a few drinks and there was somebody killed on Nightingale before crossing. If somebody would have not seen that thing, would have hit that curb and still sitting out there, and nobody's taken care of, okay? And that's the number thing. Then the water issue, I brought that up to you before, okay? And that the printing company there, the thing is, that's his property.
The parking lot.
The parking lot. I approached him. I says, and that, you know what he says to me? He says, I'll talk to the owner. And then it hit me. He's the owner, okay? Because I said to him, you know, there's water here. I'm bringing my daughter, my granddaughter's coming over here, and with this virus from the mosquitoes and everything, that needs to be addressed. And still has not been done. And then you don't even get nothing. You get on the residents, but you don't get on the business people. That's baloney, okay? The building looks like hell. It needs a painting from the printing company, and you're not even doing nothing, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. You need somebody to go around and get the stuff taken care of. You got a house, I'll give you a good example. When you had that, what do you call thing before, 2 weeks before the garbage cans, people were cleaning up and everything else. On Nightingale, that big house that's built, then the house next to it, I went by my neighbor's house. I says, I wouldn't want to live next door to you. And he says, why? I says, her dry lines in the backyard is so big, and all that fuzzballs is flying. I said, I'm glad I got a privacy fence. I said, that stuff ain't gonna blow to my sink, okay? Where's your what do you call a guy that's walking around and giving some tickets or something to be taking care of all this stuff?
We'll get on that. We need to move along, so we've heard your comments.
Well, I hope you address it and take care of it.
Well, sir, I mean, have you contacted ordinance about this? Because that's the department that would address those issues.
I contacted ordinance before, Jack and everything else. He says that'll be taken care of. That water still has not been taken care of, okay?
So one of the things that we reorganized in the ordinance department is the grease inspector, since he's dealing with all the businesses, is also doing enforcement with particularly with the businesses. And I think the clerk will tell you that we've gotten a lot of activity, especially as it pertains to business licenses. We are addressing the properties too. I know this weekend I was out both Saturday and Sunday, about 4 hours each day, identifying business properties that are not cutting their grass, or they need to get weed control. And the first thing Monday morning, I had Tom go out there and address that. So the alleyway that he's talking about, I thought we had that filled, but I'll definitely go check on that again. I thought that was resolved, so.
Thank you, Director McIntyre. Anyone else, please stand up and state your name and the street you live on. Mr. Mallard.
Hi, my name's Jeff Mallard, Simone Street. Just a question to go back on to talk about the ice rink. So, and I don't know if the city has a lot, are there a lot of properties that we do lease out similar to that? Is that something that, so in a case like this one, I mean, maybe it would have been better to, or if there's like some kind of vetting process to take a look at, the candidate, the person that's going to go in there, and, maybe develop, give you a business plan or have some kind of, some kind of idea of what they're going to do there.
This was a unique situation, so.
I can tell you that we have had a couple individuals come forward, and I've been spending more of my time on good, reasonable people that would be tenants that have plans for that. And we've requested business plans, financial plans from the individuals, so that this kind of thing doesn't happen. But the previous person in there, the ice rink closed down. And I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of options. I was skeptical when this guy came in originally with the proposal. We have people in the community that are very interested in taking it over and doing some really good things with it. They have the financial resources. They presented a business plan like they would for a bank loan.
Right.
And those are the kind of people we should get.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I think it would be a good idea to have some kind of like, at least some
we're on the
certain
same
criteria
page.
that you'd want to see before you allow somebody to open a business. Because when you do typically go to a bank, they're going to look for, financial information, your business plan, things like that. So,
yeah, we're on the same page. Thank you for the.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Wait.
Support. Oh,
One
I
more.
think you had one napping over there.
How could I leave without saying something?
I almost got you.
Good evening, everybody. Zohair Abdelha, 354 Rosemary. Just for the ice arena, I want to ask the engineering department, when we leased this property, did we have C of O for it?
So there was an operator in there. Somebody took over the arena, or an entity, and they were operating the ice arena. He said, look, there's not the demand for ice like there was. It's just not viable. So he then, with the city's help, subleased or something like that, the property, so it wouldn't just sit vacant. When I worked for the city for a summer years ago, there was an old ambulance parked in there, and people drove the ambulance around, and there was the Jerry Carnegie, who was in there and really not doing too much of anything. So this group came in, we interviewed several groups, and they said, we can make a go of this. We've got this plan, it's gonna be great, A, B, and C. And they did make some improvements, didn't they, to the concessionary and so forth? But he hasn't been able to make a go of it.
But Mr. Chairman, I don't think the question was answered.
It's okay.
Yeah, as far as the C of O, I could not tell you.
I understand what Mr. Bob is saying, but if you sell a house to a new owner, you must have C of O, inspection, before you turn it to the other owner. Now, this was Ice Arena, and it turned out to be something else. I'm asking the engineering department, did you do an inspection? Did you give C of O?
No, we didn't. We were not aware of it.
Okay.
I would note that the original tenant, Family Entertainment Properties, I believe has been in there since the 1990s, maybe? So I don't know what was done at that time in terms of a C of O. There may have been a C of O that was issued way back when.
I will ask you, Mr. Mayatki, in the City Council to check if C of O ever been issued or an inspection ever been done to this property. Because it amazed me, Muhammad, please.
The last time the building and engineering department did an inspection out there, I believe it was 2006, it was on some improvements to the ice.
Okay. So that was almost
10
years ago. But any business in the city will have to do an inspection, I believe, every 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes, if we're aware of it.
Okay.
Right now, there is not
But
only that one.
the reason I'm asking these questions, there was supposed to be some kind of festival or something for the kids from District 7 in that place.
Citywide is a circus.
Right?
Circus.
Circus or something. Now, all of a sudden, this guy didn't pay lease. He leased for $15,000, if I'm not mistaken, a year. This property was a lot more than $15,000 a year. But anyway, he didn't pay since August, and nobody took any action. If I am late on a rent, any property I'm leasing in the city, on the 11th of the month, if I'm not paying it, they add, I think, 5% penalty. And within 30 days, they send me a notice. They don't wait 9 months. That's beside that. What I see here, all of a sudden, we discovered that this property is not paying lease, and we condemn it. What we going to do? We're going to demolish it?
No, we didn't condemn it. We just,
Not habitable.
gave the tenant notice, and he's.
I saw the notice.
Move out.
I saw the notice. What was wrong with it? If the fire department or the engineering department can tell me if there is any structural engineer who went inside, or any independent inspector or city inspector went inside and tell me what was wrong with it, which is dangerous to the life of the people, so they cannot use it.
Oh,
If I could.
go ahead.
Please.
From the fire department's point of view, we were called in there, they told us a circus was gonna come. Actually, the circus company called me, and so I sent the fire inspector to go take a look at the building. We hadn't been in there in a little while. And they found there was egress doors that were gonna be blocked, both from where they were gonna bring the animals in, and there were some doors that had rusted closed. And so, because of those things and some electrical problems, we had to close the building.
Okay, so this came because of the circus.
Well, the circus is what triggered our inspection, and that's when we found out what kind of shape the building was in.
So that was dangerous to the people who would come inside.
Correct, yep.
Well, and the public isn't, circuses, especially this particular circus,
Do
there's,
we have insurance from this company covering the city? If anything would have happened, if anybody would have went inside and died because of electricity, do we have any covering the city, covering the resident?
Yeah, for the lease, there was coverage, and Ken is nodding his head yes, that it's still enforced.
We have that?
Date?
Yes.
His insurance was up to date.
If he didn't pay lease, how he,
Yeah.
Anyway.
He paid his insurance, didn't pay the
I
lease.
just spoke to somebody a few days ago, just by chance. Basically, there is somebody who's willing to take it for $50,000 a year, and he will turn it into something very beneficial to our kids, especially the schools around it. And if you want, I can give you his name later on. He's not related to me, and I have no interest in it. But
Yeah,
I
pass
hope
them along to me, because I'm serious that.
it's hype.
Yeah.
Okay, it's hype. He would love to take it for $50,000 a year, and he would turn it into something very useful, as he did, in his facility. So I hope the city will pay more attention, and I hope that the inspections will be every 3 years for the properties which are leased by the city or the businesses around the city, because that's how you generate money for the city, by keeping up with the C of O's inspections every 3 years, not to let it go for 11 years. One more thing, I just have a question for Mrs. Perry. Are we approaching Henry Ford College, the culinary art, division, to take over the golf course banquet? Yes or no?
No, we're not at that point.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else, please come up and state your name and the street you live on. And try to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Larry Mitchell. I live in the South End on Power Street. The question I got to ask is, how long have we knew about the violation at this place? And why hasn't the people at District 7 not been notified?
It's we're talking about two different things. So the ice arena.
No, it's the same thing, because they're gonna have the function in there.
Yeah, but the promoter, the operator, there was some problems with the circus that was coming in. The mayor originally brought to our attention and to the city's attention that it wouldn't be a good idea.
Well, I understand that, and what's gonna happen is people's gonna watch this. The District 7 kids. You understand what I'm saying? They still don't know anything about it. Am I correct?
That's correct. I did check on that today. They were not
Right.
notified.
So who's going to notify them?
The promoter.
should be the promoter of the
So
event.
is the city going to call the promoter? Is the city going to call?
The
Oh,
the lessee, if I may. the
District
lessee
7?
is aware that, and is actually, should be making people aware to the degree that they know that the premises cannot be used. In terms of the promoter, the lessee does not necessarily know what the promoter would know, and that's potentially the issue here. So if other people know, it would behoove them, if they're concerned, to end up contacting whoever they know at these places and letting them know, because the lessee may not know where the promoter has ended up being. And so if anyone knows District 7 students have been informed, I would recommend that if you have a contact there, that you contact them immediately and let them know. I know the lessee has been well aware of this since Friday.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to say, when I was in the schools, I did
didn't
say
get the
that to
answer.
them, to share that, but I think some type of formal notification, and I think, of course, it should come from the lessee or the organizer of the circus, but if it doesn't, I think as a city, we have some responsibility, ethically, to let them know something formal from us, maybe from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah,
Department.
I was
Director
unaware that
Barbaco.
there was a distribution. Usually, when distributions go to the school, we are at least notified. In this case, we were not, so I had no knowledge of it. But we will take it on ourselves. I'll have my staff call every one of the schools to make the announcement that the circus has been canceled.
If Pine Knob sells
We can handle
tickets
that.
to an event, and then the event's canceled, it's up to
Well,
Pine
you know,
Knob
the
to.
basic thing I'm worried about and concerned about, we're talking about kids, all right? I'm not saying the city is liable, but the city knows about it. The city said it's not safe.
No,
We
the-
just made an
the-
announcement, there's tickets being sold.
The promoter, shouldn't have.
I apologize.
Well,
Mr., you are absolutely right. And as you have just learned here today, we have learned here. And Mr. Greibel, the head of our recreation department, will step up now and notify the schools. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. We agree with you. That action's going to take place, I would assume, tomorrow.
So what you're saying is we're going to try to fix it. We're going to try to notify the right people.
That's what he's informing you of.
Yes.
Okay.
Were the tickets only distributed in D7, or were the,
I think it was all the school districts. Mhm. Yeah.
Even Divine Child will call you.
Well, it's only District 7.
No, it was all the school districts.
Oh.
So what they are is they're free tickets. They give away these free tickets just to get you there. That's what they send home.
Well, that even makes it worse. Then we're talking about a ton of kids. Am I
Well-
correct?
Could be, potentially.
Wow. I'm telling you, that's, okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Get a motion to adjourn?
Support.
Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, everyone.